In this video, I'll be answering the question, is it possible to do a knife-only run in Resident Evil 4 Remake? So, I'll be reviewing all 3 knives in the game. Let's start with the combat knife, which goes up to 1 power, 2.2 durability, whatever that means, and the exclusive almost doubles the speed of which you swing the knife. The fighting knife goes up to 1.80, the durability to 1.8, and the exclusive doubles the power. The primal knife deals 1.20 damage and the exclusive makes it unbreakable. So let's see how the fully upgraded combat knife performs against enemies in professional mode. So the biggest advantage of the exclusive combat knife is that it swings incredibly fast, but it still doesn't deal enough damage for this weapon to be viable for a knife-only run. So let's check it out with deer antlers. So the deer antlers increase your damage when you're knifing enemies. So this is the maxed out combat knife with the extra damage from the deer antlers. It still kind of is slow. It doesn't have stagger. You have to really hit them a lot for them to stagger, and when you do stagger them, it doesn't really matter because you end up being overwhelmed by the other enemies. I mean, granted, I'm trying this in an area that has multiple enemies, but let's face it, you rarely fight one enemy at a time in this game. Needless to say, this weapon underperforms against mini-bosses like the Brute, and overall I don't think it's worth upgrading the combat knife unless you're only going for durability during your first playthrough. Let's check out the Primal Knife. The Primal Knife is unbreakable when you fully upgrade it, including the exclusive upgrade ticket. The only benefit of this knife is that it is unbreakable, and other than that, it's only slightly better than the combat knife, and honestly, I don't think this is a good weapon unless you're just using it to pair it with a pistol or something like that, but knife only, Primal Knife is not a good idea. So let's check it out with deer antlers. The deer antlers will increase the damage of the Primal Knife, but let's see if it's good. So against the Plaga, it takes about 3 to 4 stabs, which is not that bad. Honestly, it takes about 2 to 3 stabs, sometimes even 4 or 5 against regular Ganados. And against Brutes, well, let's just say it's not worth it. So let's check out the fighting knife, which is unlocked in chapter 14 after you fight and defeat Krauser. So it's not like you're going to be using this weapon for the most part in your playthrough. But as all knives, this weapon underperforms when you are fighting a large group of enemies, and especially when you're going up against a Brute or another mini boss like that. But on one-on-one, it is completely undefeated. This weapon is incredible, even without the deer antlers. Speaking of deer antlers, let's check out the damage of the fighting knife with the deer antlers and how it performs. So on one-on-one, this weapon is a one-shot with deer antlers, including Plagas. With Plagas, I found it to be a bit more difficult though. I had to hit them 2 or 3 times sometimes, and you just have to be very strategic with your movements. So we have our weapon of choice, the fighting knife with deer antlers. But is it really possible to fully complete this game only using a knife? So I actually did try to complete the game only using a knife during a live stream. Most of the game can indeed be completed only using a knife. In fact, boss fights like Mendez and Sadler are quite fun to do with only the fighting knife and the deer antlers. I actually recommend you try this. But certain areas like the water hall, the second section where you have to protect Ashley, they cannot be done only using a knife because you actually have to protect Ashley with grenades or, projectiles. I tried it in a live stream using the armor Ashley as suggested by the chat. But even with the armor, she kept getting grabbed and she couldn't move. So I actually had to use grenades. So verdict, no, this game cannot be fully completed only using a knife. Just because this game literally just forces you to have to use weapons that are not knives, like in the minecart section with Louise and the waterhole section. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. But as always, if you haven't already, please consider leaving a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. I read all of my comments, and stay tuned, enable all notifications to know when I go live. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.